Imagine being one of millions of passengers stranded during the holiday season, forced to sleep on airport floors with no clear answers. Southwest Airlines experienced this nightmare in December of 2022, when a devastating technology failure caused over 16,700 flights to be canceled. Passengers, employees, and the airline itself were left scrambling amid one of the most publicized airline meltdowns in history. This meltdown didn't just inconvenience travelers, it cost Southwest Airlines over $825 million. It drew public scrutiny and damaged the company's reputation. Understanding this crisis provides critical insights into the importance of proactive technology management and effective crisis communication strategies. For organizations of all kinds, this case underscores the risk of neglecting updates and the value of maintaining public trust during a crisis. I'm McKelvey, and this is Eddie and Dan. We've studied crisis communication and image restoration theory extensively, focusing on Southwest Airlines crisis to understand what went wrong and what lessons can be learned. The goal of this presentation is to analyze Southwest Airlines' 2022 crisis through the lens of image restoration theory and offer recommendations for how organizations can better navigate similar challenges. To achieve this goal, we'll first explain image restoration theory and then apply it to Southwest Airlines' response, and finally provide actionable recommendations for other organizations to follow during a crisis.
Let's talk about image repair theory or restoration theory. When a company like Southwest faces public backlash, image restoration theory provides strategies to address concerns and regain trust. Here are some key components and some variants that are used in image restoration theory. First is denial, refuting responsibility for the crisis. Few variants for that. We have simple denial, stating the act did not happen or they were not involved. Shift blame, claiming someone else is responsible. Next, we have evasion of responsibility, deflecting blame to external factors. Admits the act, but reduces the culpability. In this case, will be the weather. Some few variants of that. An accident, asserting the act was unintentional or good intentions, emphasizing that the act was done with positive motives. Another one is reducing offensiveness, minimizing the perceived severity of the issue. A few variants for that is bolstering, highlighting positive traits or past actions, minimization, downplaying the seriousness of the act, transcendence, framing the act within the broader context to make it seem less harmful, or attacking the accuser, undermining the credibility of the accuser, or compensation, offering to repair the or to compensate for the damages. We also have corrective action. It's just promising to implement changes to prevent a reoccurrence of that incident. And lastly, we have mortification, is issuing a sincere apology and accepting the blame. Now I would like to do a little focus on utilities. Image and restoration theory focuses on creating communication strategies tailored to specific crises. Different crises require different responses, and a generic approach doesn't work. This theory helps organizations analyze the situation, identify key concerns, and create a response that fits the problem. When a crisis threatens an organization's reputation and long-term success, the theory provides a clear plan to address public concerns. Strategies like apologizing sincerely, mortification, fixing the issue, corrective action, shows accountability and a commitment to improve or improve. The theory also stresses the importance to align responses with the organization's core values. For example, a company known for innovation might highlight new solutions to solve the crisis, while a family-focused brand could emphasize empathy and personal outreach. By tailoring their responses to the crisis and staying true to their identity, organizations can rebuild trust, restore credibility, and strengthen relationships with their audiences.
Let's dive into how theory was applied to this Southwest Airlines case. A deeper dive into the crisis response finds that the Southwest Airlines 2022 winter storm crisis offers a compelling case study in crisis communication. The airline's response, while initially focused on evasion of responsibility, ultimately shifted toward corrective action and mortification. According to CPR News, this crisis caused over $825 million in losses, a widespread criticism of failures, and a federal investigation into their processes. As we look at the timeline, we notice that the response lasted from December 21st to December 31st of 2022. It all started with the December 2022 North American winter storm, officially classed as a Category 4 crippling storm, impacting large areas of the United States. This, compounded with outdated crew scheduling software, led to widespread flight cancellations and operational chaos. The initial response of Southwest attributed this crisis primarily to the unprecedented weather, a classic example of evasion of responsibility. This strategy, while temporarily deflecting blame, proved ineffective as other airlines managed similar weather conditions with fewer disruptions. With this, public outrage mounted, and Southwest transitioned to a corrective action strategy, pledging to invest over $1 billion in technology upgrades and forming a dedicated crisis response team. This proactive approach was essential to addressing the root cause of the problem and restore the public's trust. To further mitigate the damage, CEO Robert Jordan issued a public apology, this employing a mortification strategy. This acknowledgement of failure and expression of remorse was a crucial step in rebuilding trust with customers and employees. However, the delayed timing of these apologies raised questions about the airline's sincerity and commitment to accountability. As we look at the message breakdown, we're going to first start with the evasion of responsibility. That initial message that Southwest Airlines focused on was of the unprecedented scale and strength of the storm's effect on their system. We can analyze this message as it was aimed to deflect blame and shift focus away from the airline's operational issues. However, it was met with skepticism, since other airlines managed to operate relatively smoothly under similar weather conditions. This critique of the strategy was that it was ineffective because it failed to acknowledge the airline's roles in the crisis. It did not address the underlying issues with crew scheduling software, and it also appeared insensitive to customers' experience, especially during the holidays. Their corrective action, Southwest then began focusing on the scheduling software issue, promising to invest over $1 billion in technology upgrades and forming a dedicated response team. This message demonstrated a proactive approach to addressing root causes of crisis, showing Southwest's commitment to improvement and addressing what was within the airline's control. This new message addressed operational deficiencies directly, provided a concrete plan for prevention in the future, and demonstrated accountability and a willingness to learn. As we look at the mortification, the message also evolved to Southwest CEO Robert Jordan publicly apologizing to customers and employees. These apologies acknowledged failures and expressed remorse, which is essential to rebuilding trust. Some of the strengths that we can see as we critique this action plan is that there was clear corrective action and eventual acknowledgement of responsibility. But the weaknesses, unfortunately, were a delayed response, an initial deflection that undermined the effectiveness of their communication strategy. As we move into recommendations for other organizations, we can look for some key takeaways. Some key takeaways for this crisis would be regularly address and update critical systems to avoid preventable failures. Had Southwest addressed its outdating software earlier, the crisis may have been mitigated or avoided entirely. Developing comprehensive crisis management plans, including employee training and clear communication protocol to ensure organized response to unexpected challenges. And also be honest and prompt in addressing public concerns. A delayed or invasive response can amplify public frustration and damage trust. One valuable framework for navigating these challenges is image restoration theory, developed by communication scholar William Bonet. This theory outlines strategies organizations can use to repair their reputations effectively. Two of the most critical strategies are corrective action and mortification, and they offer an essential lesson for organizations in crisis. Let's begin with corrective action, which involves taking tangible steps to address the root cause of the crisis and ensure it does not happen again. Organizations must move beyond surface level fixes and focus on long-term solutions. For example, following its technology meltdown in December of 2022, Southwest Airlines committed to investing over $1 billion to modernize its IT systems. This demonstrates that when companies identify systemic failures, they should allocate significant resources to resolve them. However, to truly regain trust, corrective action must be transparent. Organizations should share specific milestones, provide regular updates to stakeholders, and if possible, engage third-party experts to validate their efforts. Transparency shows accountability and builds confidence in the organization's commitment to improvement. The second strategy, mortification, focuses on acknowledging fault and demonstrating genuine remorse. During a crisis, organizations should never shy away from apologizing. A sincere apology validates the frustrations of those affected and signals accountability. For instance, Southwest leadership publicly accepted responsibility for the meltdown and backed their words with action by reimbursing passengers, offering loyalty points, and processing refunds quickly. For organizations, mortification might also involve reaching out to affected parties individually, sharing detailed plans to prevent reoccurrences, and maintaining open channels of communication. Apologies backed by meaningful action can go a long way in rebuilding relationships with customers, employees, and stakeholders. So, what can other organizations learn from these principles? First, prioritize swift and transparent communication. In the age of social media, silence often does more harm than good. Second, don't just fix the problem, communicate the how and the why behind your solutions. Finally, remember that crisis offers an opportunity for growth. By addressing mistakes head on and using them as a catalyst for improvement, organizations can strengthen their reputation and come out stronger on the other side. Crisis may be unavoidable, but with the right strategies, organizations can navigate them successfully and even use them as a chance to grow.
Thank you, Eddie and Dan. Today, we've explored image restoration theory, applied it to Southwest Airlines 2022 meltdown, and discussed lessons for future crisis management. Southwest Crisis underscores the importance of proactive technology management, strategic communication, and public accountability in navigating and recovering from crisis. By learning from Southwest experiences, organizations can better prepare for crisis, protecting both their operations and their reputations in times of uncertainty.